Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bible reading plan. Today we're in the third chapter of 1 Peter, and Peter is continuing his letter to the dispersed church who are experiencing persecution, and he gives them some wise words, and he gives them further encouragement for the suffering they are going through. And this is common ground for all of us, whether we're persecuted for being Christians or not. We are all under suffering in this world. Everyone's going to experience before they die, and in death. We do experience suffering. That's just something that is, this is similar between all human beings. And real quick, he says in verse 7, he's talking about wives and husbands having respect and honor for each other. And he says in verse 7, likewise, husbands, live with your wives in an understanding way, showing honor to the woman as the weaker vessel, since they are heirs with you of the grace of life, so that your prayers may not be hindered. So he says, honor your wife, live with them in understanding, knowing that they are, bodily the weaker vessel. And he says, if you do not, then your prayers could be hindered. This could mess up your communication with the Father. That's a scary thought. So it's an incentive for husbands to honor their wives even further. And he gets on into verse 9, and he says, do not repay evil for evil or reviling for reviling, but on the contrary, bless, for to this you were called, that you might obtain a blessing. So when people revile us or they do evil towards us, he says, don't repay that. And I think that's something America really likes to do. Like, I know my rights. I know when you infringe on me, so I'm going to, punish you at the height of my right, or at the height that you hurt me, I'm going to hurt you as well. That's just kind of the American way oftentimes. Like, we know what we deserve. We know our rights in America, so we're going to punish those who infringe on it. But no, Jesus says, no, if they infringe on your rights, if they harm you in a certain way, don't repay that for evil. Don't revile someone who reviles you, but show love to them. And then he goes on talking about suffering. He says in verse 13, now who is there to harm you if you're zealous for what is good? He says, if you're doing good, who's going to hurt you? It's kind of a rhetorical question because he knows the answer to it. And he answers it in verse 14 because he says, but even if you should suffer for righteousness' sake. So that first of all, he says, he's basically saying it would be good if everyone saw the truth. And if you're doing good, you should not be suffering or persecuted because of that. But he says, but it does happen. This is the world that we're living in, where people do suffer on account of righteousness. So in verse 14, he says, but even if you should suffer for righteousness' sake, you will be blessed. Have no fear of them or be troubled, but in your hearts honor Christ the Lord as holy, always being prepared to make a defense to anyone who asks you for a reason for your hope that is in you. So he says a couple things here. He says, if you are persecuted for righteousness' sake, so if you do good and you are persecuted, you will be blessed. And he goes on 18 to say, for Christ also suffered once for sins, the righteous for the unrighteous, that he might bring us to God. So he's like, you are going all in. You are falling in with the King of the universe in suffering for doing what is good, and you will be blessed. You will be repaid for that suffering. So have hope in that suffering. It's also suffering can be a trial that leads us towards righteousness. But something else he says that I want to end on today is talking about making a defense to anyone who asks for a reason for the hope that is in you. So you have hope. You've been strengthened through trials and through suffering into hope. And now someone comes and asks you, why are you so hopeful? Where do you come across this faith? How do you find the strength to not repay evil for evil like everyone else does? And you as a Christian need to be prepared to give an account, to just say, this is why. This is who Jesus is. This is how I got there. This is what my faith is. And this is how you can have it too. You need, if you call yourself a Christian, you it's required to be able to make a representation of or present why you have a hope. This goes beyond, I'm an introvert, or I don't like talking to people. This goes way far beyond that, because if you're a Christian, then you should love people, and you should love them enough to be prepared to give an account of your hope so they might see the truth as well. But think about that, pray about that. I thank you for joining me. Bible reading plan. I hope to see you tomorrow. Bye.